read it. Oh, jeez. Oh, yeah. Okay. It'll take a couple of weeks, but I'll get through it.
We've been going, this is one heck of a contract, I'll tell you that.
Will it be on the agenda at our next meeting? Or will it be on the agenda at our next meeting?
Tonight.
It's on there tonight.
You have already approved the 6.5 million.
Sure we have.
And proceed, and so Mr. Forrest is ready, I'll put this, obviously.
Fine, excellent, that's good.
So I just wanted to let you know, it's for real.
All right, that's good.
Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting. I want to welcome everyone out tonight. At this time, I'm going to call Reverend Tobias Wall to give us our invocation for tonight.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, as we gather today for the Anderson County Board of Commissioners meeting, we humbly ask for your guidance, wisdom. May we listen to each other with open hearts and minds, seeking the best solution for our county. Grant us with discernment to make decisions that reflect your will and promote the well-being of all the citizens of the Anderson County. We pray for unity, compassion, and a spirit of collaboration as we work together to shape the future of our county. In Jesus Christ's name we do pray. Amen.
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 Thank you for that, Reverend Wall. All right, this time I'm going to read our ethics statement. In accordance with the State Government Ethics Act, it is the duty of every board member to avoid both conflicts of interest and appearances of conflict. Does any board member have any known conflict of interest or appearances of conflict with respect to any matter coming before the board tonight? If so, please identify the conflict and refrain from any undue participation in the particular matter involved. Are there any conflicts you see tonight? All right, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Move.
Motion by Commissioner Ellerby, second by Commissioner Little Reed. Any discussion? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I'd like to recommend one change to the agenda, and that is item 8C, the manager's hiring and capital freeze. I'd like to move that under the appearances and make it A under appearances. So Ms. Lula Jackson will follow as B, and Mr. Larry Newton and his team follow as C. And I've spoken to the county manager and explained the rationale to him, and he's supportive.
Okay, so we're going to move the manager, the appearance of the manager for just item C, the manager's hiring and capital freeze. That'll be item A, 4A, and then Lula Jackson will be 4B, and Mr. Newton then will be 4C.
That is correct. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Yes, sir, Mr. Manager.
If I might, under my report, add two things since you moved one. Two important items. One of them is the consideration of the J.R. Faison School. That's been brought up a couple times before by Apostle Chambers.
Okay.
And the second one would be the one that would be your consideration and approval of the water filtration filter rehab project. And you've already approved us proceeding with developing the contract, and we have done that.
Okay. So, manager's request, we now have, under the manager section, we have 4C, which will be J.R. Faison School, and 4D, Water Rehab Project. Any other discussion on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, at this time, we're going to enter into a public hearing for our annual opioid meeting. So I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Mims, second by Commissioner Little Reed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, and I think at this time, Ms. Cochran.
Good evening. While they are preparing the PowerPoint, I wanted just to thank everyone here for allowing me to be here tonight. Chairman Cottle, Vice Chairman Mims, and other commissioners. Thank you so much. I wanted to present some work that has been going on throughout this last year in regards to the Opioid Settlement Committee. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
If you, yeah, there you go.
I'm a little short. Sorry about that. As you know, in 2022, there were funds awarded across the nation as a result of some litigation from it was 1.5 billion, I was looking for my number, and that was a national opioid settlement. And you may know that also North Carolina was awarded 1.1 billion to the state here, and they have since awarded, there were 56 billion to the state, and then 1.1 billion to Anson County. And over the past year, we have worked on many projects that would bring resources here to the county. And in collaboration with other state and local agencies, we have worked to develop an action plan so that we can have strategies that will advance prevention, reduce harm, and connect people to the care that they need. Since Anson County is receiving $1 million from the large corporation and settlement funds, this will be paid annually over an 18-year period. The county commissioners have established the Opioid Settlement Committee, and through that committee we do oversee the spending of these funds to ensure that they are used to remediate the opioid crisis and ultimately save lives. This committee does consist of community members who have life experience or professional expertise in the area of substance use, addiction, and recovery. This committee also serves to develop strategies to abate all of the opioid crises in this county. We do envision an Anson County that has a community equipped with services and resources to mitigate the impact of the opioid crisis, stop all opioid and substance use disorder, as well as improve health outcomes and save lives. Okay, so for today's discussion, we will look at the option A, which was determined a few years back. That would be the strategy that we did use. Looking at the funding allocation that we have approved per strategy, as well as the resolutions that were submitted. It's not going forward. There we go. These are the 5 strategies that have been identified through the committee's work that we are going to approve and work under for all of the opioid money that we have thus far. So the big one you'll see there is the collaborative strategic planning, and that involves not only local agencies but local health care, as well as the health department and all the municipalities in the county. We are working to provide recovery support services, early intervention, naloxone or Narcan distribution, as well as the addition of treatment for incarcerated persons within the jail. The projects funded to date would be the Tri-County Child Advocacy Center, the purchase of naloxone, you may know that as Narcan. Safer Communities, which was recently approved, they have been allocated $175,000. $125,000 of that is to support recovery services, not only connecting people with detox, but also housing and other job training, as well as a reentry program from the jails. Then we also have just formed a partnership with Samaritan's Colony, and you may or may not be familiar with Samaritan's Colony. They are a treatment facility located in Richmond County. They will, however, guarantee scholarships for anyone coming from Anson County that does not have a means to pay to be able to be entered into their treatment. Not only will it pay for the 28-29 day treatment period, but it will also cover part of their funding for post-recovery housing. And what that entails is not only a safe place to stay, but the addition of job training, and they will also help get a job, and they can stay there for up to 3 years. So within this past year, we have created a subcommittee that looked at the framework and progress being made with the current stakeholders. Within that, we found that we do have strong support and participation from all of the government agencies, not only from this board, but also from municipalities across the county. What we chose to do was focus on our strategies of collaboration within this county, and in that we have looked at our budget and finances with not only the county manager, but also the finance manager. She is actually the one who keeps us all straight and on task. We've engaged multiple stakeholders, and within that we have created Narcan distribution networks, as well as a partnership with the schools. Some of you may or may not know that until recently we did not have Narcan in the schools, and I can tell you as someone who is at the hospital, that was significant. So at the beginning of the year, we worked with Dr. Mary Ratliff and many others to create a training program for not only the school nurses, but recently I've been asked to come to present to more of the teachers and a lot of the support personnel so that we can have the training as well as another distribution there. And you can see that the last bullet there, our ongoing work is to engage our community and collaborate with surrounding communities. A lot of counties are a little bit further along than we are in our work, and so what we're finding is they have already created the wheels, so we are looking at a lot of the things that they've done previously. So in relation to next steps, we have, as you have seen, approved many strategic initiatives already. But what we would like to do and invite everyone to is a meeting that's open to all. It's on January the 9th. We're going to host that at Atrium Health Anson. We will host not only, we've invited everybody here, so you should have an email invite, as well as the local mayors and anyone who works for their town or municipality. The school system, in addition to the health department, has also been invited. We will look at how to take applications. Most folks are not sure how to approve or even apply for the money, let alone get it approved. So what we would like to do is, there's a lot of folks around this community that's already looking at some of the work that's being done, and they're doing it on a shoestring budget, and we would like to pull alongside those folks and provide funding, even if it's a small amount, so that they can increase their efforts to fight this crisis. We will take applications from January 1 through the end of February, and at that point the steering committee will then review the applications to make sure they're, number one, in alignment with the strategies that have already been identified, and then we will start the approval process so that we can have a distribution probably in, Mr. Manager, April, May?
Yes.
April or May. Okay. All right. I'm open to any questions and or discussion.
All right, are there any questions or comments for Ms. Cochran?
Just so you'll know, Teresa volunteered to be the chairman of our opioid committee and has done a great job. You know, she knows it inside and out, and she's gone to a lot of meetings over and beyond the ones that we have locally, so she's staying abreast of everything we have to do, which will keep, because as she knows, Attorney Forbes knows, we'll be audited left and right, and so we want to make sure we do everything right, and so far I think we have, even though they change the rules on us from time to time.
They do.
They tend to do that.
They tend to do that. I will be attending the meeting in March as a representative of Anson County to learn the new strategies and stay abreast of any rule changes, to Mr. Sossaman's point, so that we will maintain our compliance.
Okay, yes.
Because this is a public hearing, we have to do some certain things. Ma'am, you're keeping abreast of all the rule changes and everything, correct?
Yes, sir. They do post that on a website, which we do maintain.
And you follow those and you review those from periodically, is that correct?
We do, and we also look at those when we have our meetings, and they're in the minutes.
And you are following those rules, correct?
You are correct.
Okay, any other questions or comments for Ms. Cochran? Well, if not, I just want to say thank you for your commitment and your involvement in Anson County. Thank you for trying to make it a better place.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, if there is no further discussion, we'll entertain a motion to exit the public hearing.
So moved, Mr. Chairman. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Mims, second by Commissioner Ellaby. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So we are now back into our public meeting. We're going to move down to our consent agenda. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Mims, second by, was that Commissioner Gatewood or Mr. Leary? Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on the consent agenda? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, moving on to appearances. Under item 4A, we now have our Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This one is a little complicated, but I'm going to try to uncomplicate it as much as possible. You may remember back at the last audit that we had, which was presented to this commission back in June, there were certain numbers that were thrown out by the audit firm, and some of those would involve the fund balance, the general fund balance, as well as the fund balance over in your water operation, which is enterprise fund, as well as sewer. And what they critiqued us on, and they gave us something called an FPIC. If you'll remember, that was at a more recent meeting that the board approved. And FPIC just stands for the Financial Performance Indicators of Concern. And the Local Government Commission had 5 concerns. One was that we were needed to pay more attention, if you will, to our water and sewer operation and upgrade those because they felt like they were not in the pristine shape that they would prefer. Also, another concern was that we had not over the years raised water and sewer rates to the point that they would be more supportive of grant opportunities and as well as operations. And another one is that we needed to figure out a way to curtail the overusage in their mind of our fund balance. And of course, Ms. Tiffy Anderson from LGC paid a visit to Holly and me and stressed that. And one of the things that they wanted us to do was to consider things like how to save money from expenditures. And one of the ways to do that that we agreed on and we put into our response in the FPIC response to the LGC was to have a hiring freeze and also a capital improvement freeze. We really don't have that much capital that we're spending. As you know, most of it is involved with grants not coming out of the fund balance. And the biggest part of what we're spending from a capital standpoint, and I've talked to a couple of commissioners about that, most of you are aware, is trying to rebuild our water and sewer facilities. And so I knew that if we did that, it would, since we've got a small operation, if you will, several hundred employees, not quite 300 yet, but some of the operations, as people come and go, and from here to other counties and other cities to work, they need the replacement. And so I know the freeze has adversely affected it. One operation that was more recently the board decided to spend more money and hire some more EMS folks and put another truck on the road, if you will, for emergency responses. And then we've had some, like our veteran service officer. Hopefully we're going to have somebody that's going to very soon say that they'll accept that job because our more recent hire from about 6 or 8 months ago decided to leave us. So everything else, you've got frozen positions in DSS. Ms. Jackson's here, obviously. You've got 2 representatives, Brian Ellerby and Yvonne Burr from the health department. They would all like to request, as well as one that's not here, is Nick Addison with our planning department. He's looking for his replacement, if you will, which is the GIS position. So that's kind of the backdrop of where we are and how we got to this point today. And I've talked to Mr. Gatewood earlier, and I've talked to a few other commissioners about it. And since the board approved the FPIC, the responses, then the board would have to authorize me to lift the freeze, if you will.
Yes, sir. I just want to caution the board that I literally was in our book last meeting that we signed the paper that went around that said we will address the FPIC concern of reducing our general fund usage. So we just made that commitment last month that we will try to adhere to that. I know it's a delicate balancing act. Our departments need the employees. Obviously, if we don't have the employees, we can't get the job done. The way I see it, we have 2 options. We can either reduce the usage of the fund balance by decreasing the employees, or we can increase the tax base. And I prefer to increase the tax base. And we're going to hear from our tax assessor, tax administrator here in a minute. And if we can increase that, that will allow us to hire more employees. But that's the only 2 options we're faced with right now, the way I see it, unless I'm missing something.
I think of those 5 things, the curvature of expenditure was one of those things, right? In the FPIC.
Right.
Correct. So meaning that where we have spent money.
Correct.
I guess my question is, prior to the last meeting, did this board put a freeze on hiring?
I'm not sure if there's ever been a freeze on hiring. I know not in my 2 years and change.
Or have we made any hires or in any department since then, or has any departments been allowed to hire?
I don't think we hired anybody unless it's somebody that would be those additional ones for EMS.
So technicalities, we don't have to lift a freeze because there is no freeze.
Actually, there is a freeze for all the positions except for ones that the board had indicated, and those primarily were the 8 EMS employees, so they could man full-time that additional, that fourth truck, if you will.
So that's what my question is. So the board put a freeze on hiring.
Right, but they also...
We did. The board put a freeze on hiring?
We froze on positions. The positions that was vacant.
Okay, that's why I was asking.
Yeah.
Like, did the board make a vote and vote to freeze hiring?
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's why I asked that question.
Okay.
Yes.
Because if the board didn't vote to freeze it, then nothing has to be unfroze. They just have to be allowed. So unless I wasn't a part of a vote to freeze, I don't think I was.
Yes. No. The
So
vote
it was prior to.
Yeah.
That's what I was asking. Yeah.
Yes.
So I just wanted to make sure I'm clear.
Yes.
On whether the board froze it or if it was just like a freeze that was applied from somewhere else.
Oh no, the board actually approved the FPIC, as it's called, our financial performance indicators of concern, and also each board member signed it, and then also
I signed that. I did sign the FPIC.
signed the
That was the last meeting.
right,
Yes. So what I'm saying, was the FPIC a freeze on hiring? That's what I'm asking.
it is a freeze on hiring.
Okay. That I didn't. Okay, I wasn't aware of it. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I don't remember voting to freeze anything. Maybe I didn't understand the FPIC. I just want clarity for me.
Okay.
I know that in the FPIC, that part of it was, 5 items that we would try to avoid, but I just want clarity.
Okay. So that's why I just want to caution the board that by hiring the additional employees, it's going to cost money out of our fund balance, and so we're going back on what we just agreed to do last meeting if we do that. I'm not saying we shouldn't. I'm just saying we got to keep that in mind because we're going to go through another audit, presumably summertime by October of next year.
The next audit, well, obviously this budget year finishes, and I just talked to Commissioner Ellerby about that earlier today. The budget year runs from July 1 to June 30, so we'll have this budget concluded by June 30 of 25, and then in order to stay in compliance with the LGC, we have to actually have the audit completed on or before October 31 of 25. So this is a short time frame.
Yes, sir.
I have a question.
Okay.
You said we put a freeze on hiring. What about transferring? Like if an employee is just transferring to another department, and if it was already incorporated into the budget?
Mr. Manager, can you answer that?
Right, and those are, and that's why I brought it to the board, going back for more clarity, is there are situations, as the commissioner just brought up, transfers and people leaving, and so the question would be, as you stated also, Commissioner Caldwell, is to replace the ones that are leaving, but not hire additional ones, if that makes sense. And if we're replacing ones that are leaving or transferring from, say, DSS to the health department, or vice versa, if you're just doing that, then you're really not expanding the workforce, so to speak. And so if we're not expanding the workforce, it's stagnant, so to speak, even though we're switching out employees.
Yes.
So
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So if we have 7 people at the child support and 3 of them transfer, so they can't hire anybody for those positions? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I just cleared. If the board approves it, that's not part of being frozen, then yes, we could do that.
We can replace those that left, but we can't hire an 8th position.
No, we don't need
for that.
We just need to cover what we have.
And also, I wasn't aware that I was agreeing to a freeze. Just for the record, I didn't know that. I know that we had a list of things that we were to consider to try and follow suit with that FPIC, but I don't think it's stated anywhere in there that the board is putting a freeze on hiring in that FPIC.
Actually, there is.
Right. I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I signed it that evening without getting them. I read over it, but I didn't see it that it was free. I thought that was one of the things suggested that we would look into.
Okay. Thank you for that. Mr. Woodburn, or Mr. Leary, one of you had a comment?
Go ahead. The one of the positions that I do have questions about within the departments, if the vacant position is going to cost more for another personnel, another employee to fill that vacant slot in overtime, would that be a consideration to fill that slot? As in, we're paying somebody, public safety mainly, or any department, if there's more expenditures being paid for overtime for an employee to cover that vacant slot, would it not be more fiscally responsible to hire an employee to fill that slot instead of paying overtime, time and a half, pay somebody a straight salary to fill that vacant slot?
That would be, and we've actually done that in the past because we had some operations, as you are aware of, that we were paying a lot of overtime salaries, so it made more sense to hire employees to do that work as opposed to continuing to pay a lot of overtime.
So any positions within that realm, I think would be more fiscally responsible to hire an employee rather than pay overtime.
Right. And my goal is to get everybody what they need, going back to what each one of you all are saying, and then maybe just not expand the workforce, but to replace those that need to be replaced, as Commissioner Little Reed has brought up.
So are any of these requests, have they been previously approved like in the prior budget? So like with those that are coming, are these positions previously approved in the budget for that department?
This board approves.
Or would this be added?
This board actually approves when they adopt a budget. They actually approve all the positions.
So that's what I'm saying. So the positions peradventure that Ms. Lula or Mr. Ellaby is coming for, are these positions that's already in their budget proposal?
These are positions that are approved. Is what you're saying.
Yes.
So, and
are they already in their budget?
They are in the budget.
Okay.
And so, the goal that the LGC, Local Government Commission, wanted of us was to not spend that money that had been approved in order to not continuing to dip into the reserve fund, which is our and all the fund balance is your reserve fund, sure, like your checking account, savings account.
Expenditure, I think, is important.
Expenditure is most important.
So we signed that and made an expense immediately last meeting. Just want to be clear on that.
Mr.
Woodburn, you had
sorry.
I think Mr. Woodburn had a comment earlier.
I was trying to decide if I still need to make it, but just I'll go ahead and do it anyway, just to kind of and put out there as a point of information. What I've been used to in working with these types of situations is that transfers typically are not impacted by a hiring freeze. However, I would expect that the department heads and the county manager would do some legwork just to determine if we allow this transfer, what happens with that vacant position if the transfer is allowed. And that goes back into what Commissioner here was saying is, the cost of overtime and other costs because of a vacant position you have to consider. So my thinking is, transfers are okay, but you need to look at the overall impact that transfer is going to cost. And sometimes it's more prudent to tell that employee we cannot allow the transfer at this point, but we'll look at it, say 90 days from now or at some point in time in the future, so that you can operate without adding any cost to your operation. That's kind of what I've been used to.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr.
Mr. Chairman, just one question, and this is for the manager. Mr. Sussman, how long do you anticipate this hiring freeze to last?
It's hard to put a time frame on it in terms of the amount we would save. I do know that the 11% COLA that was approved by the board that took effect July 1 of this year, it hasn't affected the previous audits. It's going to affect this coming audit for this fiscal year. So that's, and I think that overall cost was like $1 million and change. So going back to the to the last audit, we had a fund balance, general fund balance of 8.9 million. If you take $1 million off of that, and it should not be that much because we haven't filled all the positions that were approved, and also it's in effect for actually half of the fiscal year which started. So if we don't use all that money, we should have at least $7 to $7.5 million in the fund balance. I'm trying to make sure it doesn't go below that amount because, as you know, by the local government commissions, their goal is to make sure that we have at least 3 months of operating capital, and we do have that. So if we can maintain that and evaluate the positions, then we're still going to be in good shape. We won't be in the best of shape, but we'll be in good shape.
So how long do you anticipate the hiring freeze to last, Mr. Sussman?
Initially, I was going to look at it for, say, like probably for this fiscal year through June 30. But I know people need it, and they need a replacement, as Commissioner Little read. So, you know, if the board would like to lift it, we can do that, and I'd say make it effective, because I've had this question already. If we lift it, say effective January 1, January 15, could they go ahead and initiate marketing, advertising for those positions to be filled so that they wouldn't have to start anew on January 1 or January 15?
So right now, we're not allowing department heads to advertise?
That is correct.
I don't quite understand that, Mr. Sussman, and I'll admit this is the first time I've ever been in a hiring freeze in Anson County government in some 20 years, so I'm learning on the fly. But historically, if a department head advertises a position today, it's going to take 3 to 4 months before that position is filled. I would like to encourage the county manager to reconsider the process and allow department heads to continue to advertise these positions. We may have to hold up on making the offer for the job, but at least we're not stopping the process completely.
We could do that.
I think it's our responsibility to make sure as commissioners that every department is furnished with the proper personnel to be able to operate and to function. And I think that if these departments need this personnel, just like decisions have been made in the past, we need to make sure the county can operate with the proper people. And if these positions need to be filled, we need to give them the opportunity to fill them so that they can be the best at whatever they're doing in their department. Because the freeze was one of the things. Expenditures is another one we probably should look at, and this is just one of the expenses when we have some other expenses. So I think we should really consider strongly of lifting this freeze so that every other department can operate. Public safety is important. We need them operating. DSS is important. We need them operating. The health department is important. We need them operating. If they don't have the people to do that, we need to make sure they got the people to do it. And that's one of our responsibilities as commissioners.
Mr.
Yes, sir. Okay, I'm sorry, but just one other thing, just this point of information that I've been used to is that in these particular situations, when you have vacancies for whatever reason, especially when you're concerned about your operating costs, and you've got vacancies, it's an ideal time to look at reorganization and restructuring. You know, that way
because we're a service industry, and so it's the employees. Where you would spend the most money on capital would be at your utilities operations, because those are the biggest ticket items, if you will. Other than those, you have things like the AXE buses that had to be replaced, and obviously vehicles for the EMS operation, vehicles for the sheriff's office. But the biggest operation is the employees. And I agree that, the biggest resource you have is your employee base, because they're the ones that where the rubber hits the road, so to speak.
Yes, sir.
Is there a percentage or no numbers of the vacancies for each department at your fingertips? Probably not right now, though. As far as the vacancies, how many vacancies in the departments? or a percentage rather, for each department that has vacancies?
It varies by departments. You've got some departments that have very low turnover, and then you've got some others that, you know, people will kind of come and go, so to speak. So, but it's, I would say we might have a 10% vacancy countywide if you look at all the employee base.
How many new positions have been added in the past 10, 15 years?
10 to 15 years, that I don't know,
Anybody?
but in the last couple of budget years, we've probably added close to, I'm gonna say around 20.
I have another question. How was a budget approved that we can't afford? Or what has occurred to cause us not to afford it? Because if these positions that, I think it's only 2 departments, I could be wrong, that are coming asking to hire.
Actually,
Is that correct?
the two bigger ones would be, you know, DSS is probably the most. You've also got some of the health department, and you've got some of the other ones. But the way this happened is one of those findings in the FPIC is that, and Chairman Calder brought it up when he says lack of economic development. This county's not growing its tax base. It hasn't. So when you ask how did we get from there to here, if you continue to reach into your fund balance, I mean, if you put $1,000 a day in your checking account or savings account, and you start taking out $100 every day, and you don't put any back in to replace it, you're going to run out of money, and that's what this county's in the process of doing.
Right. And I understand that concept, but I'm saying the budget was approved for these positions.
Right.
That's what I want.
By taking probably $2 million out of the fund balance in round figures.
If DSS do a lateral transfer without a pay increase, knowing that because the budget was already established, would that be, I mean, is that an issue? The money should be already there because it was incorporated in the budget whenever we did the budget.
Right. All I'm trying to do is keep from spending all the money that was approved, which is part of our responsibility.
Yes, if I can, the money is there. We can afford to pay the employees.
Correct.
The problem is we know we're going to be in a deficit come July or June 30th of 25. We know the audit's going to reduce our fund balance. They're going to see a reduction in our fund balance. All the manager was trying to do was reduce the size of that deficit. We know there's going to be a deficit. We already know that. We're just trying to reduce the size of that deficit.
And Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
I brought this up at our last meeting, and that is our property tax collection rate.
Agree.
I mean, we've been running 94, 95% collection percentage for 10 years. And for some reason, it dipped down to 93.26 in 2014. And that alone is probably a couple of $1 million, Mr. Sussman.
Yes.
Yes, so I agree. That's why I made the comment. We got 2 options. We can quit spending money, or we can increase the tax collections. And we'll hear from Mr. Newton here in just a few minutes.
And one of the objectives, and it was hit upon very well by Commissioner Gatewood, is if you said we could go ahead and open up but just be judicious in terms of who we hire, particularly if it's a new hire. If it's the lateral transfers, as Commissioner Lee brought up, or if it's, you know, filling a position that was already here, is it's slowing the process down. And so if it takes 3 months to fill a position, and I know HR is going to be inundated with the request if that's lifted tonight, and I'm not opposed to that because I want to make sure we can operate as efficiently and effectively as possible. Sometimes you just got to have those people, those feet on the street, because like I said, that is the resource that makes things happen.
Yes. Would it be feasible to lift the hiring freeze incrementally? In other words, if each department just say needs 10 employees to replace what's left, let's incrementally allow those hires. If it's going to take a few months to hire them anyway, do it by percentage. You know, they're allowed to hire 25% of that. You know, they can post or apply, advertise for 25%, and then 3 months we can do more. Is that feasible?
Yeah, we could probably do something like that, yeah.
That way, it's not all going to hit at one time.
Right.
And if Mr. Gatewood's correct, those employees may not be hired anyway. If it's going to take 3 to 4 months to get them hired, that'll get us to the end of our fiscal year. We can reassess what our fund balance looks like and go from there.
Right, if the board wants us to proceed by lifting that, because his idea about taking 3 to 4 months anyway, that in and of itself reduces the amount that we're going to be spending.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I suggest a suggestion based on what I'm hearing is not so much lift the hiring freeze as modify that only current positions that's included in the budget be filled, would be my thinking. As has been pointed out, we approved the budget, we should be able to operate within that budget, but we don't want to add any new position that's going to add cost to that budget.
I think that sounds about right where I was, is if how many people ever they need to actually hire. I think they should be allowed to hire those people.
How long has the positions been frozen?
How long has the position's been frozen? 30 days?
Oh, well, no more than that.
Yeah.
We met 15 days ago or something, didn't we? 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, we met 2 weeks ago.
But I thought the freeze was implemented last meeting.
The response to the FPIC was...
The response to the FPIC, which is we were verifying what we did, the actions we took. The action we took was hiring the freeze. We just responded to that by everybody signing it. The LGC required every commissioner's signature that we were going to enforce that.
So that's what I'm saying. So we enforced it 2 weeks ago or a month ago.
It's been about a month. It's over 2 weeks.
That's what I was thinking.
Mr. Chairman, I have a motion I'd
Okay.
like to put on the table for consideration. It only addresses one aspect of this issue, and that is I would like to move that department heads be authorized to post job vacancies and proceed with filling those positions once the freeze is lifted.
So you make a motion that the department heads are allowed to advertise the open positions
Yes.
currently.
Yes.
Okay. And then,
And proceed with filling those positions upon the lifting of the hiring freeze.
okay. All right, so I have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Before we go into a second question, are you still gonna use a percentage to go ahead and release for those positions to go ahead and be hired?
After further thinking, it's going to be tough to do it on a percentage basis. For instance, you've got some very small departments, 1 or 2 people, and so if we said, for instance, it would literally kill your veteran service because it's one person there, and some of the other smaller ones. The larger ones, they're the ones that are looking for more people because they have more vacancies. They have more coming and going.
Yeah.
So my thing is if Commissioner, I'm trying to figure out a way to get him to modify his motion.
Got it.
That's
Got it.
Well, I'll withdraw my motion.
Thank
if
you.
someone has something better.
I make a motion that before we make a decision, we hear from the departments before making a final decision. I'd like to make a motion that we hear from the department heads, see what they need, and then we proceed with this motion.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know that you need a motion to do
But
an
I'm saying,
action.
right? But I'm saying, but we take an action, but I don't know how many people they're trying to hire.
Yeah, I agree with you. We don't have to have a motion to do nothing.
I have withdrawn my motion for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, well, if you withdraw your motion, then I was going to suggest that the motion that you amend the motion to say not to include any new or added positions. You know, basically your motion was to advertise and to fill positions and these are positions that are already budgeted, but there are no new positions or added positions. I was going to say, if you modified your motion, I'll give you a second on that. I think that's
so. I'll make
what we're
that
trying
motion.
to
I make a motion that we lift the freeze, allow departments to make a hire for the jobs already in their budget.
I'll second that.
All right, so I have a motion by Commissioner Ellerby to, can you repeat your motion?
I make a motion that departments be allowed to hire, advertise and hire the positions already included in their budget.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Ellery to advertise and hire the positions already allocated within their budget. We have a second by Commissioner Woodburn. Any other discussion on that?
So does, a question.
Yes, sir.
So does this mean that there is no hiring freeze?
If the motion passes, that's what would be in effect, yes. There would be no hiring freeze.
And what impact will that have on our finances?
We're going to get our hand slapped by the LGC come next July when we submit our audit. They're going to say you signed the paper that you said you would not, you would freeze expenditures, and we did not. Our fund balance is going to decrease, and they're going to slap our hand again. That's the way I see it. Now, Mr. Manager, am I wrong?
That was concisely put. I mean, that's what they'll do. Now, will they close us down? No. They'll just tell us, they'll probably repeat and say, figure out some other way other than freezing if we can, which and I literally don't know of another way, because that's the biggest part of your budget is salaries.
Yes.
And salaries and benefits.
That's correct. And it all hinges on our tax collection rate. If we increase our tax collection rate 2, 3, 4%, that's going to solve some of our problems. We're going to be adding back to our fund balance.
And our expenditures, where we are spending money and allocating money in certain circumstances, we cannot leave that out. We have already spent money, and if we continue to spend money on certain things, we can't forget about that either.
Yes, and that'll be addressed in our upcoming budget, but we've already spent the money that's been budgeted now. We've already got the deficit that we're working with now.
Understood, but you all have spent money that wasn't in the budget, added money from the last budget.
No, that's not the case. Let me just say this too. I mean, and it sounds like we just keep going back and forth. And my line of thinking, we've got to do one or two things. We've either got to support the freeze recommended by the manager, and that says nobody hires anybody.
Well, we
say that 5 minutes, and then 10 minutes after that, we'll say let's open it, which I just seconded a motion to lift the freeze. So we've got, as a board, we've got to decide what do we really want to do.
But then all in the same breath, you said we'll hear from the department here's what they need, and that just got...
Well, and we're not going to hear that tonight.
Because the motion's on the floor.
So I mean, if that's the case, if you want to get that information together, then the motion and the second would have to, the motion would have to fail or either be withdrawn.
Well, it can't fail. It's on the floor. It's been seconded, so we got to vote.
Yeah, it's got to vote. But
I said, but it's got to fail. It's in order to get that information that was just mentioned, the motion's got to fail or be withdrawn. There's only two ways to get past.
Yes.
It could be tabled.
Well, but you can do that too, but that wasn't his motion.
Motion.
Thank you, Mr. Woodward. You know that. Just offering that. Y'all consider.
The motion's on the floor. It's got to be voted on.
Yeah.
Because you can't table a motion that's already on the floor and been seconded.
That's correct.
That cannot be tabled.
Exactly.
Larry?
Exactly.
Yes, considering that we just, at our very last meeting, we all signed and agreed to this epic response to go in the complete opposite way and to open what the motion was to completely open all positions back that were budgeted. I'm not against hiring people. I'm not against getting the needs there. But we just agreed to this last meeting. I don't feel in good conscience that we can completely go against what we just agreed to last meeting. Commissioner Mims, you brought up something of a tiered response. I would be interested in seeing what percentage of the departments have vacant positions. If we're dealing with 30%, and also considering their numbers. If we have 30 employees in one department, if there's 25 employees there, 5 vacant positions. If another department has 15 and that department only has 7 people there, then they might need some more people. Let's diversify and see what departments need more help where, and let's do a little bit of a tiered response possibly.
There's a motion on the floor, and I think we should consider this motion for these departments the same way other departments were able to hire. Right before this was signed, EMS was able to hire. Our sheriff department, they need to hire. Good. I'm glad we have public safety. We have other departments that's got to operate, and we can modify with understanding that these people that are serving Anson County, working Anson County, have what they need in personnel to do the job. I mean, if we had these discrepancies some time ago, they need to hire like other departments need to hire. So that the motion's on the floor, and I think we should strongly consider equipping them to be able to do the job they need.
I would like to suggest that we just let, because Miss Lula is next to speak, let her get up here and give her statement about what she think about her department, so we could, that way we'll all get a better understanding, because a lot of y'all, so you don't know the situation. So let her get up and explain her situation at DSS, and then let Mr. Ellaby get up there and discuss the health department. Just let them have their say so you all can get a better understanding. Because just like Commissioner Ellaby said, we just hired 3 police officers to patrol the government center, DSS, child support, the courthouse. I have yet to see anybody come in child support and say, "Are y'all all right? Do you need anything?" I haven't seen an officer come in and ask us yet. So we just hired somebody to do that, and we haven't seen anybody. So I just want her to give her the opportunity to say whatever she needs to say, and Mr. Ellaby the same thing.
Okay. Mr. Forbes?
Well, I agreed to that, but at this point, what I was trying to get us to do that.
You made a motion at the time.
Yeah, but now we cannot override or omit a standing motion on the table. Okay.
That's what I'm supposed to get clarification on.
But
with a motion and a second, can we table that?
Is this still under? Well, he would have to consider having it tabled.
Okay.
Let me make sure I understand what y'all are asking. Are you wanting more discussion on this motion?
Yes.
Okay. I'm talking about tonight. I just want to make sure if you're talking about Ms. Jackson speaking, which is what I believe was just suggested, that is allowed under discussion.
Okay.
That is something y'all want to do. Am I answering your question right?
Yes. So we can call Ms. Jackson up, and we can call Mr. Ellaby up. He's still here, I think. We can call them up in part of our discussion of the motion. Sure. Okay. Is that the board's pleasure? Would you like to hear from Ms. Jackson before we move forward?
I do.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Jackson, if you will come and present your information.
So, good evening, Chairman Caldwell, Anson County Board of Commissioner members.
Good evening.
I will say, I'll try to get focused on my presentation. So it was a thank you for an opportunity to present and make a request to advertise for and fill current vacant positions with Department of Social Services. On November the 8th, we received department heads, all county department heads received an email from Mr. Sossaman entitled Memorandum of Spending Freeze. You as the Board of Commissioners, with the exception of Commissioner Leary and Commissioner Ellaby, were copied in that email as well. The email was regarding hiring and capital expenditure freeze. It said effective November 8th, all newly vacated positions will be frozen. The only exception will be emergency services. Any other positions will have to be authorized by the county manager prior to advertising. All capital expenditures will be frozen immediately unless there is an authorized purchase order in place. And so the positions that were listed at that time in reference to Department of Social Services included the administrative officer position, income maintenance caseworker 2 position, income maintenance investigator 2 position. Tried to schedule meetings with Mr. Sossaman. 'Tis the season for everybody's schedule to be busy. We attempted on 3 occasions to meet. We're finally able to meet on December the 10th to discuss. When we did our initial meeting, Mr. Sossaman asked that I prepare some numbers to say what it would cost to fill the positions at Department of Social Services. At that time, there were 3 positions: the administrative officer position, the income maintenance investigator position, and the income maintenance caseworker 2. Please note that all DSS positions are reimbursed at a percentage based on the program area. Of course, you do not receive the revenue if you do not pay out or pay the expense of the position. All administrative positions are reimbursed at 30%. Income maintenance investigator position is a food stamp position, which is reimbursed at 50%, and the income maintenance caseworker 2 position, which is a Medicaid position, is reimbursed at 75%. That reimbursement does include salary and fringe. So whatever the position costs, there is a reimbursement to that. Since the freeze, although the email said that it would be all newly vacated positions, these 3 positions were not newly vacated. These positions were advertised prior to November the 8th, and we were in the process of filling 2 of those positions. But because of the freeze, then we were asked to stop. Since that time, there have been 3 resignations at Department of Social Services. One in the Child Support Office, one in the Food and Nutrition Services, which was a lead position, and another income maintenance caseworker 2 position. Also note that all child support positions are reimbursed at a 66.67% reimbursement rate, and that includes salary and fringes. These are not newly vacated positions. Well, no, let's see. The 3 positions resignations are new as of November the 8th. But all of these positions are currently in the budget. And again, I'm not sure or not clear on the budget versus the reserve, based on what has been shared here today. So if the budget has been approved, but then I heard Mr. Sossaman share that $2 million of that came out of the reserve. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And so, in hearing that, it does not negate the fact that the positions with the Department of Social Services, we need some people in place to do these positions. Programs that we provide are more or less a pay-for-performance positions. So when we have food stamp positions that are reimbursed at 50%, we have an average of over 6,000, close to 6,500 people in the county that receive food stamp benefits. That averages out to about $1 million per month of income of food stamp benefits that come to this county. We have 9,599 Medicaid recipients in Anson County. That accounts for about 44% of the Anson County's population. A part of that is Medicaid expansion and covering those individuals. In our child support office, we do collections of up to $225,000 per month. That provides benefits for children in the county, and make sure that their needs are being met. We have Child Protective Services workers that are on call and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Right now, we are currently not providing assistance with rent or utilities, and that's because funding is not available. Currently, there is no heating funds available for anyone in the county because of reductions at the state level. We are coming upon having to deal with waivers that were in place as a result of COVID, where there were face-to-face interviews or information that didn't have to be researched. You could accept the client's statement. All of those things are being lifted. So the work remains the same and will increase. And it's going to be hard to do that work without adequate staff. Whether we have the staff or not, the state expects us to meet the performance measures. We still have to have a certain percentage of the applications processed. We still have to have a certain percentage of service orders out, certain percentage of collections. We have to respond to events in a timely manner. All of that still has to be done whether we have the staff or not. And without the staff, then we burn out the staff that we do have. causing them to have poor work performance and also poor health condition, because they're stressed out about all the work that they have. And any department can attest to that. There's only so much that staff can do. And then to have these positions frozen until July of 2025, what we have out there, that will make the difference. And I know that the tax office has been in turmoil and trying to get stability. County did a assessment of the tax office to see what was needed. Hopefully all of those positions are in place now, I don't know. But that's what needs to be done in order to increase the tax rate. I think I will yield to Mr. Ellaby at this time.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question.
Yes, if you'll hold on one second, Ms. Jackson. Yes.
For Ms. Jackson.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Jackson, based on everything you've said, and I know the state employs us to fill these vacancies just as quickly as possible so that we can continue to provide the services to the citizens in need, but what is your recommendation?
My recommendation is that the department be allowed to fill budgeted positions so that we can continue to provide a service to the citizens of the county.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Yep, one more.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Ellaby.
And now you said of those positions, I think you said one of them was 30% reimbursement.
Pretty much supervisory positions, clerical positions are reimbursed at 30%.
And then a 50%
Approximately.
reimbursement on one and roughly 67% reimbursement on another.
Yes, 66% reimbursement on child support positions, 75% reimbursement on Medicaid positions, and a 50% reimbursement on food and nutrition services.
So technically with these positions, the county would not be 100%
That's correct.
responsible and
That's
for
correct.
the, okay, that makes, so, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
I have one question for you.
Yes, sir.
I think you said that there were some positions that were vacated before November the 8th, before the freeze went out.
That's correct.
How long before November 8th were those positions open?
The income maintenance investigator position was open as of, I think Ms. Huntley retired in March of 2024. So that position had been open since March of 2024. Administrative officer position, I think Ms. Dunlap transitioned from her position to the adult services position in August or September, in July of 2024.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
then the income maintenance caseworker 2 position had been open since May of 24.
Okay. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Ms. Jackson?
Normally, how long does it take to hire once you post a position? How many months are we looking at?
I guess you could do an average of 8 to 12, but it really just depends on the season.
8 to 12 months or
No,
weeks?
Weeks, I'm sorry.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes, so normally we advertise anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks.
Right.
And then scheduling interviews, that process would be about that long before someone is brought on.
All right,
With these positions, a lot of them would be promotions for some internal staff. So it would probably not take that long to fill positions. Like our lead position, you would have someone that would want to move from a line worker to a lead position. But then that vacates other positions. Unfortunately, when you are hired internally, you kind of bridge between 2 positions until the position you vacate, kind of similar to what Mr. Woodburn was referencing earlier, until the position you vacate is filled. But that doesn't always result in the best quality of service.
yes. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Your 50% and your 75% workers, how many does that make up of your workers in social service?
I think probably about 18, there are 60 positions with Department of Social Services. About 18 of those, 18 to 20 are at that 75% rate. 8 to 9 are at the 50% rate.
Okay.
7 are at the 66.67% rate. The adult services and children's services, they are at a 40% rate, and then the administrative staff are at 30%.
Right. but
They're
how many-
probably about 11
the
at
admin?
40%.
Okay.
For
What about the 30% admin?
30% is, there are 10 supervisors, including myself, and 2 processing assistants, so that's 12.
Okay.
3 processing, 13.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms.
I want
Jackson?
to make sure my numbers are right.
All right.
You had 3 openings on November the 8th,
That's correct.
and you've had 3 since November 8th, so a total of 6 vacant positions.
Yes.
So-
1, 2, 3, wait a minute.
10%.
Well, I'm looking, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yes, about 10%.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
all right.
and you got the percentages.
Yes.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Jackson at this time? All right, hearing none, thank you, Ms. Jackson, for that.
Thank you.
And at this time, we're going to call Mr. Ellerby. And I think he's going to summons Ms. Burr.
Yes. And I want to thank you all for having us tonight. And I've been back home now since August, and I'm happy to be back home in my home county. But listen, we got an issue down at the health department. We have an employee who's retiring in the spring. She said her last day may be in January, and she does about 25 plus specific tasks for us, including billing, HIPAA, and other aspects that help the health department get its money back for services that we provide. And we have to get someone in there trained with her so they can fulfill that role. We have a staff member who we're looking at transferring into that role, but we need to get that person's position in place so that we don't create a financial hardship for the county, because if we're not doing our billing right, if we're not doing our collections right, that's going to cause a major cash flow issue at the health department. And I have Ms. Burr here, you know, she's going to provide more details on it and everything, but it's critical that we can move forward with getting the person who is retiring replaced with someone to do the job, so we don't create hardships for the county and the health department. So you want to add anything else?
The processing assistant 3 position that is currently vacant has been vacant. It was given to us last year to help me when I was in as interim. So we never filled that position and stuff now. So the plan was to, when we found out that the one is currently retiring, that we could be able to use that temporarily. It's not gonna be kept once we get this person trained. So where we have like 3 asking for the 3, we currently have 2. For the 3rd one, once the person gets trained, then that position will go away because we don't need it. We just need it temporarily until we get the person trained.
But you need one permanent person,
Yes.
correct? Just one.
Yes, sir.
And it's a critical needs that you have.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Yes. Because
It's-
go ahead, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. And so most of our budgets are compiled of Medicaid escrow, which saves the county money. So that's not a portion that's taken out. We do that in the programs in which we earn it in. So it's not all local money. We get reimbursed for 3 to 4 positions fully from the state. So, you know, it's kinda like it's not too much of a hardship on the county for a long period of time. It's just a temporary position. We have 18 current staff at the health department. So we would go to
To learn all these things that the current person does for the agency.
Okay.
the position is a $32,000 with benefits.
Okay.
It's not a high
But it is
salary job.
necessary.
Yes, sir.
Yes, very
Yes,
necessary.
sir. Otherwise, money stops coming into the health department.
Yes, sir.
and
Yes,
we
sir.
have cash flow issues.
So, my question, and it just pertains to what you said here. I'm just curious. It's not necessarily about the job, about the vacancy or the trying to get somebody hired. What happens if the person, you have one person trained to do this? What happens if they leave, or they, you know, if they leave, if this person quits, who can cover down on that position?
Because we only have a staff of 18, we all wear multiple hats.
So there's somebody else that could come in internally and still be able to take care of the
That
billing.
would probably be me.
It-
I would have to learn it.
But it is, it could still keep going.
Well, in that period of us learning, the cash is gonna.
The cash is gonna.
We won't have anybody billing appropriately to the insurance companies to get money paid back to the health department.
Right.
So we don't need to, we need to do this thing right and get somebody there so we get the person trained to be able to continue that task.
And with the different roles and stuff now, like we have admin people, and I'm considered admin. I work with state funding reimbursement, so therefore I can't touch billing for the billing company, even though I handle the revenue part. So you have to make sure that you have all bases covered and not by one person.
Okay. I'll just.
Currently, as we say, if I decide to leave, you're gonna have to fill my position with 5 people. Because it's, you know, I'm this and this and this, well, it works fine for the people that we have. But going forth, I was grandfathered in, so now you're gonna have to hire more people. So we used to be a staff of 32 when I come to the health department. And that was 23 years ago, and we have decreased to 18.
Do you have 18? And
that's including.
Are you fully staffed now at the health department?
No, we currently have another position for environmental health.
So your environmental health is vacant.
We have a contract worker now that's currently doing that.
Right.
But we have done interviews and stuff now and have made an offer. We'll see how that rolls.
How long would you need that interim person to work?
I would say this training's gonna take about 30, 45 days.
We're talking maybe to the new fiscal year,
Yeah.
July.
Yeah.
June, into June.
Does this other employee, I don't know their name, but
We don't really.
that's fine. Do they have a set retirement date?
It's been floated somewhere either at the end of January or in the end of January, what we've been told.
The end of January?
Well, it started out in March, and
Right.
then it kinda got moved to January. So
As in,
we've been
like-
trying we had interviews set up, and we're supposed to interview the next day, and then we had to cut them off because of the freeze, so.
Okay, the only reason I know I've heard employees here in the county, other ones, I'm retiring this year, it gets to the end of the year, I'm retiring next year, I'm retiring, and it goes on.
She's been cleaning out her office the last 2 days.
Okay. I mean, that's
So
pretty,
we're
that's
kinda-
pretty
we're kinda
convincing then,
going,
right?
yeah, we're kinda
Good
going-
sign.
I would take her at her word then.
Yeah.
We just wanna get the person trained to do that job, and then we'll begin to doing other things to add additional backup and everything, but right now we just need the person trained so we don't have any cash flow issues at the health department.
And I will say too, she does debt set off, so, and right now she's the person that also handles the EMS stuff for debt set off in a way. The money comes to us and we allocate it to who it goes to, so that person does that responsibility too. And it also, she's over the tax collection when they get started, so it affects not only us, it affects 2 other departments too.
Mr. Elam, you said 6 months would be a good period for them to learn.
I'm thinking that we're gonna have a very intensive first 45, 60-day training period for this person. If the person stays that long, and I'm begging her to stay longer than what she's planning to do. But I think that the first 45 days is gonna be critical that the person that we wanna train in this role has day-to-day training on the specific assets, and then we can begin to modify that. And I'm reaching out to some of my other health director peers to see what other services we can provide for training for this person. Might even have them go over to Richmond County and do some on-site training, but I'm just throwing it out there. But we gotta get this person trained so we don't cause any issues for the county and the health department from a cash flow standpoint.
So what you looking at? 6 months, a year? How many months?
I think worst case scenario, I think she can get this good training in 60, 90 days. Yes.
Because she always has knowledge. We've been working with her, anticipating a retirement at some point. So we've been trying to work with her, but now it's like there's more and more, you gotta get qualified or authorized with insurance companies. This person does it all.
Okay.
So
Like I said, a lot of us where we would love to multitask and multi-train and stuff now, but we don't have that option. We have one person that really does it all.
So this person, was she offered the job already? Per se?
No, because we can't
Right.
offer it to her. So
Right.
since we currently have someone still in the position, it's just been kinda taught with her to say, are you interested in it? But she still has to apply, and we still have to send it to the state, but she would qualify for it if she accepted it. We have taught multiple conversations with her about the roles and responsibilities.
So for the basis of your conversation and on this discussion, you need this position.
Yes, sir.
if we don't fill this position, you have issues with billing. That means the health department may not get their money on time. It may not be able to just operate as they should. This is a necessary position. It is needed. It's a must-have so that the department can operate.
Yes, sir.
That's simple as that, right?
Yes.
And it's critical, as Commissioner Gatewood said, it's necessary.
Yes.
And it's temporary. It's not like we're asking
Right,
this
right.
position to carry on from years to years. It's just
But it has to happen.
temporarily needed, yes.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions or
No.
either the health department? All right, thank you for that.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you for your service and work.
All right, so we'll come back.
Chairman, do we have any other departments present tonight with critical needs?
I was just fixing to ask the manager, do we have any other departments present that has a vacancy or?
I think our tax office is just about fully staffed unless Larry tells me otherwise. He's one short, so he's closed. But I would go back and say that if you want to proceed with hiring, given the fact that Ms. Jackson indicated that it's going to take, could take 4 to 6 weeks, not months, obviously. So the goal was to slow down the spending, and so it's done that because we haven't really done that much hiring, if any, since except for emergency services since November the 8th. So if you go ahead and lift it, the LGC didn't say do it for 1 year or 6 months or 9 months. Then by the time all these positions were filled, it would probably be sometime in, I'm going to speculate and say no later than no earlier, all of them would be filled in the end of January, maybe 1st of February. So that gets us halfway through the fiscal year, if you will. And so that's I don't think that would be too bad a crunch on the budget. We'll just have to wait and see if anything else happens.
Okay. So we're going to go back to our original motion that was to lift the hiring freeze and hire all positions that are currently budgeted. Is that correct?
Correct.
Is that what your motion is?
Yes, sir.
All right. And we had a second by Mr. Woodburn. Is there any other discussion on that motion?
Well, yes, I do have a question. And that is, we've heard from 2 departments. Ms. Jackson has 6 vacant positions that are critical needs, 1 at the health department that's critical. I think we should act on those 2 departments as opposed to opening up for the full county at this point in time. So I
agree.
All right.
So I'm willing to, I guess, amend my motion and add in what Commissioner Gatewood said, that we will act on the DSS and health department as it pertains to these critical need positions that they need to fill.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
My second still stands.
Your second still stands. So now we have a motion by Commissioner Ellery that we will lift the hiring freeze for the health department and the social services department for all budgeted positions that are currently budgeted for that department, or those 2 departments.
Yes.
Second by Commissioner Woodburn. Any other discussion on that?
Yes. She said she does have 1 vacancy already via environmental health that you're contracting out. That would include that vacancy with that motion. It would include all 6 with DSS. I still would entertain something of a tiered response, more so, on more of a case-by-case example for the employees. Like, hey, can we get out of 6? Can we get 4 hired or 3 hired? That would be more of my thoughts on it.
So our environmental health is not included in that hiring freeze, just the process and assistant.
Just the process.
Because that would actually make it 2 for you if you included that,
We
right?
had 2 vacancies, but only 1 was frozen.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
So you need
All right.
1 and y'all need 6.
Any other discussions on that? All right.
I'm curious in how the other departments, and I understand that we have reimbursement with DSS, and I'm grateful for that, and it's a great reimbursement rate as far as 66%, 50%, and 30%. I just consider the other departments as well. I don't know how many, I know the departments within the county. I don't know how many openings are in every department as far as trying to be fair across the departments.
Yes, I'm sure we will hear from other departments who have vacancies in the very near future.
Now, if you agree, if you
Maybe
passes
not.
to approve all vacancies within the departments, I think that every department is going to be wanting all of their positions filled, and every department should want their positions filled. Past history of EMS, y'all know I work for EMS. I would love to see EMS's filled. Our service has gone years without being completely filled. I wore the multiple hats like you talked about. I had an assistant supervisor on my shift. I didn't have one for over a year. I wore both of those hats for over a year. It's rough. I know that. I get it. I know it's rough over there. I'm not downplaying it at all as far as the roughness of being short-staffed, but also the fiscality, the financial for the county as well. Last meeting we said the county manager and the board is committed to freeze vacant positions. I'm okay with amending to a tiered response or something like that. And I know you've amended it now to just DSS and the health department. So you have amended that down out of the all category as well. So
Still the number is 6 from DSS and 1 from the health department.
That is correct.
And with the severity of their presentation, and I guess it was the right thing to do. We have 2 that are here, and they have expressed to us the importance of what they need. And I would say this, according to with both of those departments, they are in the public service department. So a lot of that is important to remember too. Again, she stated they was servicing 34% of the population in one instance, and I think the other instance was make that right at 30% with the Medicaid billing, or one of the 2, I don't remember exactly. But with that percentile of our population being served by those positions, I'd like us to really consider that when we vote.
Mr. Manager, other departments came to you
Yes,
for their change?
I did mention one, the planning department, because in our planning department we have building and inspections as well as planning and also GIS. Mr. Addison couldn't be here because he had a prior commitment helping out our agriculture extension folks do something. He wears multiple hats as well. But that department, you've got, as Mr. Newton said, he's got 1 person down. Finance department, they've got on hold that other position that was allocated to them after the peer review. So those are 3 positions.
Recommended by the review committee to add those positions.
Right.
To try to strengthen the finance within the county.
And going back to the earlier discussion by, I know Commissioner Ellerby asked a couple of times, all the positions that were frozen were positions that were budgeted. And in order to balance that budget, we had to take money out of the reserves. I mean, we had no option. Either that, or you have a slash and dash type thing in terms of not just people but programs, and that's the fact, because we know. And the other option is if we can grow the tax collection to the point and not leave that money on the table, so to speak, and also collect those back taxes from folks, which I know that's picked up, then that's going to improve our situation, and maybe it'll balance out. We can hope.
How much
positions that weren't frozen, were positions that were like in the detention part of the sheriff's operation, as well as some sheriff's positions. Then we had a water and utility maintenance person, or Parks and Rec maintenance tech that are open right now. So I mean, when you look at the number of vacancies, you're going to normally have the most vacancies in the larger departments because they've got more people. As Ms. Jackson just said, she's got 60 people. If she's got 6 vacancies, like I said, if you went county-wide, you'd probably have about a 10% vacancy rate. And so hers would average out with all the other departments that are smaller departments.
Mr. Chairman, we do have a motion.
Yes, so we have a
We
motion.
may need to repeat that motion based on to make sure I'm clear, okay?
I will repeat the motion
Thank you.
again, just for clarification. So we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Ellaby to to advertise and hire all the positions within DSS and social services and the health department that are currently budgeted for those two departments.
That is correct.
And then we have a second by Mr. Woodburn. Any other discussion on that? All right, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
I'm going to oppose, and the reason I oppose is not because I don't think these departments are important. I agree that we need to look at a tiered approach, incremental increase, because every department, we've opened the door that we're going to have every department who has a vacancy, they're going to be here next meeting wanting their employees hired because they're all important. And I think all of our county employees are very important, but we have to take a strategic approach to this in the hiring of the employees. So I do not disvalue your departments or your employees. I just think we need to take a more strategic approach to it. That's why I oppose that motion. But the motion passes with, I think, 5-2 vote. So, all right. Any other, that should end discussion on the hiring freeze. Okay. So now, Ms. Jackson, that does conclude your presentation, correct? Okay, thank you. All right, so now we will move on to Mr. Larry Newton and Tafoya Haley with tax collection update. And I hope you can solve our problem that you just heard.
Wow. Yeah, I'm here to give you a report on the collection of the department. Primarily the tax rate. I think the tax rate has been, I think, looked at and rightfully. I want to address that and give you some information concerning it. Not only is the tax rate being looked at in the county, it's also being looked at the municipalities side. Actually, Commissioner came to me and asked me, he said, Ansonville, Wadesboro, whatever municipality you're in, why is our collection rate less than the county's collection rate? And or should it be the same, and can they be different? Well, they're not the same, and they are different, and they usually remain different. And what has happened in talking to those involved in the municipalities is that theirs generally is less than ours. And so as we look into this, I think one of the reasons that their collection rate is higher than ours is because if you live in the county, you're paying one jurisdiction, which is the county. If you live in a municipality, you pay in the county plus you pay in the municipality, which basically makes that bill at least somewhat larger. In other words, to collect. I gave an example here. Let me just give you an example. $125,000 property in the county at the current tax rate. If you pay that tax bill, it's $971. That's based on a .777. If you live in Wadesboro, same house or same property at $125,000, your tax bill is $1,600, almost $1,700. So I think it's the size of the tax bill that somehow plays into the influence in the collection rate. In other words, based on the county and based on the municipality. And it's all billed, of course, on the same bill. And we don't separate them. We don't let anybody come in and pay the county and leave the municipality, etc. In other words, it's applied equally across the bill. So it's not split. Larger the bill, harder to collect. Makes sense. I want to talk a little bit about what has been brought up about the collection rate based on being a fiscal year. I heard that word used a couple of times earlier. And of course, we know the county is on that fiscal year, July the 1st to June 30th. A lot of this stuff I'm going to tell you is 101, but I think it's important. The months that we're into a fiscal year. Those rates are available as far as collection numbers, but any numbers beyond what we are already through on the fiscal year are estimated, especially if you want to look at what you think it's going to be at the end of the fiscal year. So it's hard to say the collection rate is this for the fiscal year when you're 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 months in it, because you don't really know what the collection rate is at that point for those remaining months. And you know yourself that there's times in the tax office that we're much busier than we are at others. Now, something Tafoya and I talked about, and this is just an observation, not looking at numbers so much, but we don't have or don't seem to have the foot traffic on the collection side paying bills right now that we've had in the past. The traffic seems to be less, but they also have more options to pay. Like they can pay over the phone, they can pay, you know, with a credit card, you know, whatever, you know, they choose to do, they can pay, you know, on that basis. But all bills that are delinquent, we certainly have the right to force collect those. But what you'll find out that the bills go out in August, last of July, due September the 1st, no penalties or forced collections can be enacted on that bill until January the 6th. Now this year it's going to be, being on Sunday, it's going to be on the 7th, so we have to ride that day. So there's very little that we can do other than make phone calls and stay in touch with the taxpayer to get that current bill paid, because we cannot force collect it until it actually passes and comes a lien on the property on January the 6th or the 7th. So we are focusing on delinquent bills. Now, what you have to understand is that we can collect $1 million of past due delinquent bills outside of the fiscal year we in, and it does not move the needle on the collection rate. The collection rate is based on the current year's levy from July 1 till June 30th. So when you look at where the collection rates now, we are pushing and we are focusing on past due delinquent bills. Now, what you get into is that when you're pushing on delinquent bills, some of the bills are paid in full, some of them are partially paid, which we take partial payments, but anytime anything other on a delinquent bill is not paid in full, in other words, that means that there's a current bill out there if it wasn't paid in full. So the only way we reach the needle on the current tax rate is for them to come in and pay any delinquent taxes and pay them all. That's the only way we can count that we've actually accomplished getting something that will change that collection rate. So I believe that we are attacking delinquent bills as hard and as aggressive as any other in the past has went after them. We do pay, and I'll go over some of the methods that we have, in other words, to collect those bills, and tell you where we're at, and how we can do it, and what it means to us. And of course, the first line of communication, in other words, on collecting the bill, is the phone. In other words, if we can get the taxpayer on the phone and get a firm commitment on what they're willing to do, what we can do to help them as far as a payment plan, etc., or whatever, partial payments, pay by credit card, whatever we can do and offer that taxpayer to help us get out of this dilemma we're in. I believe that when the peer review was done, and David Baker was here, and he said because he talked to all of us in the tax office. He talked to them in collections. I believe his comment, maybe not totally, but when he said, it may take y'all several years to get out of this ditch. Because he had an idea of what was in the background that was not collected. And until you get them out of the way to where people can start paying on that current bill, that tax rate's not going to change very much. And even making, doing payment plans and stuff like that. I mean, we do payment plans, but if we look at this, this is what we're doing, in other words, to get these bills collected. We're phone calling, we're doing payment plans. If you forfeit your payment plan, you don't get another one. And probably you're going to foreclosure. It's the only other resource we have if they fail to do or make any effort beyond that. And we've already extended, in other words, basically credit to them. We're using garnishments. We are now, and Lisa Clark is working with us on debt set-off. We are actually loaded on 3 computers downstairs, debt set-off is. So we've got that in place. We're using newspaper ads. You probably saw the ad in the newspaper in the Express this week. We're sending out 30-day notices about foreclosure. And that's required by law for us to notify a taxpayer if we're going to foreclose or move forward in that collection area. This is what I found. I reviewed today the letters. I just took 20 letters that we had sent out. I just pulled 20, went through the collections software, and 60% of those people that had got that foreclosure letter saying that if they didn't respond within 30 days, paid that tax bill in full. So it works.
What was that percentage?
60%.
60%, okay.
Had paid that bill in full just by getting that letter saying that if you didn't respond within 30 days, we would, in other words, foreclose or proceed with foreclosures. Now, can you stop a foreclosure? If we foreclose on your property, can they stop it? Yes. But what we have to tell them when they try to stop it is they owe the taxes that are due. Plus, if the foreclosure proceedings have already started, then they have to pay the law firm the bill that's been accumulated to get it to that point. So, and then, and I've heard the comment say, well, I will pay the lawyer. Well, they pay their taxes, and then the law firm will foreclose on them for the taxes, I mean, for the services. And when we foreclose property, there's a thought that we get all the money that the property brings. We don't. The only thing we get in a foreclosure procedure is we get the taxes owed and the cost of the attorney fees. And the rest of it is distributed by the courts. So if we sell a property that's got $10,000 worth of taxes and fees and it brings 25, we only get just what is owed the county and the lawyer. Now, if we foreclose on a property and just say it doesn't sell, then if it doesn't sell, then we generally turn around and turn them for auction. But we have taken possession of the property as a result of the foreclosure proceedings, so we own that property at that point. Now, when we go out to Gov Deals or some of the other auction companies, and we use Gov Deals to do that, whatever that property brings, we get to keep. So we get to keep that. That's the different side of it.
That extinguishes the property tax due as well, correct?
That's right.
Just to make sure.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So if they owe $20,000 and the property sells for $10,000, that extinguishes that $10,000. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. We do in February. We send out a postcard, and it sounds insignificant, but we send out a postcard. We have to do that to notify a taxpayer that's delinquent that their name is fixing to be published in the newspaper. We're required to do that. But on that tax card, it lists every bill that they owe. And then also on that card, it tells the forced collection methods that we will use, in other words, to collect it. And it also, on the other side, not only does that, but notifies the newspaper about the newspaper ad, but it also tells them how we will proceed to collect it. But it also serves the tax department, the assessment side, to clean up any old records that's out there. Because they'll call and they'll say, well, I don't know this bill, or this bill shouldn't be on there, or whatever. So it's a gleaning of our records, which is usually pretty good, but it allows us to clean up any records that are old or whatever that need to be done, taken care of. But we use that, we use the newspaper. It costs about $14,000 or $15,000 to run all those delinquent taxes in the newspaper. Now, we get to charge the taxpayer for that run. We can run it multiple times beyond that, but that's on us if we go beyond that first run. And what is deceptive about that in the newspaper is a lot of people think that's all the taxes that person owes, but that's only the current year that person owes. They may have a string of taxes, 4, 5, 6 years back, but anyway, that's just the current year. In other words, that's actually being advertised. We're collecting on escrows. Hundreds of escrows come in other words, which is to our benefit because it's been paid by a lender. In other words, to satisfy the levy that we got. Mail traffic, and I'm just observation, we're not counting envelopes, but mail traffic, I told you foot traffic seems to be down. Mail traffic seems to be less than we've had in past years. And it may just be that, we're going to get pushed here at the last, and, it'll pick up and equalize out. But we are aware, I'm more aware than I am of what challenges we have than I even imagined, okay? But we are using these tools to get these taxes collected, and we are focusing on delinquent taxes. Can't force collect current taxes in this fiscal year yet. And until we do get some of these old ones out of the way so those current bills can be paid, it's going to be hard to raise that tax collection rate.
So by saying that, just so I can clarify for myself, so if a citizen has multiple tax years that they're delinquent on, they're unable to pay the current year, they would have to pay the oldest bill first, which is still going to keep the rate low for the current year. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Absolutely correct.
Okay.
And what general statute says is this: taxpayer comes into the office, goes to pay his bill. If he doesn't say anything or she doesn't say anything, general statute says you apply it to the oldest bill, paying interest first, and then moving up.
Gotcha.
Okay, but let me say this. We have a few taxpayers that will come in and say, I want to pay the current year. Two things. They want to keep their name out of the newspaper, and they're avoiding taxes that have accumulated on the backside. And I'm telling you, they're going to foreclosure because they're trying to beat the system.
And that's what I was getting at. So, because I thought you could request to pay the current year.
You can.
I didn't know that you had to request that. I thought it was.
No.
I guess it's their choice, obviously, if they want to pay the current year.
If they want to pay the current year, but we take that's an evading of the
Okay.
taxes that they owe, so,
All
I
right.
mean, and then they would get a 30-day letter, you know.
Yes.
Telling them what tracks we're gonna go on, in other words, to move it forward.
Mr. Newton,
Yeah.
what garnishment tools are you using?
It's the state program, Robert, Mr. Mims. In other words, it's the same thing that EMS is using, it's the same thing that the health department's using.
Did we use it last year?
We did not. We had never even been in that system until this year. It had never been pursued.
In the garnishment part?
And well, not the garnishment, but did you say garnishment? I mean, death settle. I was on death settle. Yeah, we're doing garnishments, but that's an internal thing programmed into our software. In other words, we don't have to reach outside this building or anywhere to get garnishments moving. That's a function and the activities that is built into our system already. I'm sorry, I thought you was talking about death settle. But we are working on those. We are getting better at it. We are learning more. We've already, on the debt set-off, we've already sent somebody to training. In other words, for training on their system. So we are aware of what we've got to do. We know we have the tools to do it, but we've got to get them in place, and we've been working to get that done. And I really believe that, in other words, we've made a dent in collecting past due accounts.
But that does not reflect an increase in the rate. Gotcha.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
So
Do you have an idea of how many delinquent accounts we have currently, whether it's 1 year or 10 years?
Well, I will tell you, I don't have numbers on to scale them down, but I will tell you this. We have 10-year accounts. We have them rolling off even now. Okay? I mean.
But you don't know how many.
I don't know.
Okay. So.
But let me say this. We can go after taxes after 10 years, but we just have to have we lose the tools that the state gives us to collect them. We're on our own if we go after 10 or more than 10 years.
Gotcha. Okay.
Ms. Haley, with your since you've been in your position, how many payment plans roughly you think you've got started?
Right now, apparently we got like 74 active payment plans. And out of the 74 payment plans, we have had 56 payment plans that has been paid in full. And we also, we've been hustling. We got some numbers here that we have been collecting on back taxes recently. 37,280, 15,164, 10,863, $12,510, 32,718, 17,598.32, $10,643.74, $14,712.16. That's back taxes that we have just recently collected. And we, on a daily basis, we on the phone. On a daily basis, we sending out delinquent notices. And next week I have to meet with the Department of ESC, I think unemployment office. She's gonna give me a list of the ones that's working for the Anson County, because a lot of our workers are working somewhere else. You know, we don't have no jobs around here. So she's gonna give me the Social Security numbers where I can match the ones that I had recently when I was doing gunship. So hopefully that's gonna help with some of the jobs that I can find, the ones that's working out of the county. But next week, hopefully, fingers crossed, I've been speaking with a company that their back taxes, I think, is like 67,000. Hopefully, I think they're gonna sell it, and we'll be getting 67,000 next week. My fingers crossed. I've been working with them, talking to them, but we've been hustling pretty hard trying to get these taxes. That's all we can do.
Okay, Mr. Woodward, yes.
Yeah, the numbers you call out, and this is kind of where I was going with, I'm gonna go with it. The numbers you called out, was that a month or what, those back taxes that's been collected? What was the, I guess, the frequency? Was that a month or a year or
That
what?
was total.
That was
Total numbers
Oh,
that
you
she
want the
gave me.
months that we collected? Or
No. I was just asking,
Okay.
you know, was that like the 37,000? Was that for last year, and then the number before that, the year before? Is it, what I was going to ask for, and I don't know how much trouble it would be, is that based on what I've learned tonight is that, you know, delinquent taxes doesn't help you increase your collection rate. I was kind of curious to see the amount of delinquent taxes that's been collected, say like 2023, how much we collected that year, and then how much we collected 2022, and so on and so forth. So we could say like for the last 5 years, last 7 years, we were here 7 years ago, and we're currently here, and it has increased by X number of dollars or decreased or whatever. That's kind of, since we can't improve our tax rate right now until we get more people current on paying their taxes. I'm just kind of curious, are we doing better or worse on a year-by-year basis at collecting delinquent taxes?
At least we would know we're making progress on
Right.
the delinquent tax.
That's kind of, yes, sir.
So, I'm sorry.
Now, is that something that could be supplied, saying?
We'll work to get that to you. What we find out now, when we're in-house with software, we could just go upstairs and, you know, and get those numbers.
Right.
But, you know, we're contracted out now. But let me say this. When we want specific reports, we generally go to the software provider. But then once we get that report into their software, we after that can generate that report
right.
in-house from that point on.
Okay.
So it's a matter of just working with them to get that in place.
Yes.
It is.
For our senior citizens, how are we communicating or making plans for the ones that's all behind for payment arrangements for the ones that's over the age of 65?
In answer to that, we're not singling out. We're looking at delinquent accounts. I mean, we can check and see if they're in the program in there. But and one thing we want to target on this is we actually have pulled the list of the farm program. We know the farm program is a tremendous discount. In other words, on property when you. I mean, we're 62% in the farm program, and what we want to do is, and we already have, is pull the delinquent. They're only paying 30 cents on the dollar to start with, and what we want to do is pull those particular accounts, send the letters, put it in process, and either bring it current or you come out of the program. In other words, we can't physically take them out of the program, but we can make them pay those back taxes. In other words, at that point. They'd have to come out on state regulation, in other words, rather than taxes, but we can get those taxes collected. And I'll leave you on a positive note for sure. We just bill public service companies in the tax office, and that is Duke Energy, that is PD Electric, CSX, natural gas. Communications, Verizon, any service company that is in the county, we just bill them. And this is in addition now to what you got last year, but the public service increased in the county for this year $40 million. Which means if you translate that into tax dollars that can be collected, it's about $300,000. In other words, that we'll gain this year, in other words, through public service that's been installed in the county. And that's 100%, and I say this, that's 100% collectible, because it really don't go, it goes through us, but you know Duke Energy and those companies, in other words, are not gonna be delinquent. So that's pretty much, you can apply the 100% tax collection rate to that.
They don't want their name in the paper.
That's right.
You mentioned earlier that you think the foot traffic into the office and the mail is kind of off from where it has been. Do we have a way, a measurable, I guess, benchmark to where we are in collections now versus where we were maybe last year at this point in time?
I think that's one of those things we can pull, and see, where we stand and get a total figure, not just current bills,
Yeah.
just see where we stand as far as I think that's something we can produce.
Okay, so.
Mr. Chairman, I have
Yes.
a question. In fact, I have two.
Okay.
Number one, we got our audit on time this year for the first time in several years, and one thing that stood out to me is that our collection percentage dropped from 2023 to 2024. It's been bouncing somewhere between 94 and 95% forever, and it dropped down to 93.26. Anything you can cite as factors that led to that drop?
Not really, Mr. Gatewood. I heard those figures. You gave us those figures before. I know it's tough out there right now. Economically, people are stressed and strained, but that really would be covering the fiscal year that I've been addressing here, and I really don't have a concrete answer of why it would have fallen based on, just the cycle being the same, and other than economics. That's the only thing I can tell you.
All right.
Maybe economics.
And the second question I have, and that is, in preparation for this meeting, I went to Stanley County, Montgomery County, Richmond County, and Scotland County. Didn't have to make a phone call. Just went to their budgets or their audits. And what I had learned is that in Stanley County, the property tax collection percentage is 98.44. 98.44. In Montgomery County, 97. Richmond, 97.4. In Scotland, 97. In Anson County, 93.26. Why are we unique?
Well, I think it's the state of the county. I can't say totally that that's it, but when you listen to the reports from DSS and what we're covering through DSS, I don't know that there's that much difference based on her report, but it sure influences it.
I have a suspicion on that, and I think we've seen the answer in the peer review that the LGC did, was that our tax administration needed some assistance, and I think we addressed that, and I think that as Ms. Haley was reading these numbers out, I think we're being effective in collecting some of that back tax.
We are. I am convinced, and we just probably need to look at the numbers more, specifically. But
yeah.
I really think we're making ground on that. We may not be helping that physical, but.
And I'm glad to learn tonight, because I did not know that the collection rate does not increase if you're collecting back taxes. If there's still accounts that are owed, that does not move that needle. So that helps me understand. We could collect $10 million in back taxes and still have a 92% collection rate. Are we any better off? Sure, we got $10 million more, but our collection rate still looks low.
Right. And please don't get me wrong. My question was not being critical. No. I'm trying to understand what's going on.
I understand. I do understand. I do. But yeah, I think it's economics. But there are probably some other factors there. I don't know what they are, but yeah, and some of the things, some of the reports that, and when you shut down a current system that was so convenient to us, even in the tax office for sure, to get numbers and to know what those numbers were, and then have to go to outside source. I'm pleased with the choices we made, and it would have been this way regardless of who we chose. I think we chose the right vendor, but once we get those reports, then we can generate.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. Yes, sir, Mr. Woodburn.
Just one thing, just I know that you're finishing up, just for clarifications to make sure I understand it correctly. The numbers you gave, like on initially, the $125,000 property, the tax rate for the county is like $970 some dollars, and then the Waysboro resident is $1,600. Is that $1,600 total, including
total.
the
That's
including the $970 something?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes, 971 county, 2 jurisdictions, that's the totals.
Okay.
1666 is what it
Okay.
actually calculates to be.
Thank you, sir.
And reading McLaughlin from down at the School of Government, he was talking about the general statute says that you have to have, and they don't give you an answer to this. The general statute says you have to use a actual accurate collection rate to set the budget for the next fiscal year. But finance wants that figure in April, May, because y'all gonna pass the budget in June. So in looking at his report and how he says it's handled, he said other counties do it differently, and you really can't meet the demands of the statute because the figures are not there. He said some will use the prior year's collection of those last 2 rates, or they'll estimate it or whatever, but you are short at least 2 to 3 months when you set the fiscal year rate, or the what the rate is for the next year, because you don't have the figures.
Yes.
I just want to commend you all for this presentation. Brought a lot of understanding, and your efforts in working to get those delinquent taxes, because if you don't get those caught up, the tax rate's not going to change. So just wanted to commend you on that. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Newton or Ms. Haley? All right, hear none. I appreciate the presentation. Thank you. Thank you for all your hard work.
And Ms. Haley, it's really good to see you. Okay? All right. Thank you.
Okay, so that concludes our appearances at this time. So, and we do not have any public addresses. Is that right, Madam Clerk? All right. So no public addresses. We're going to move down to our administrative matters. In your packet, we have our board calendar that was presented last meeting. Is there any discussion on the board calendar?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Going forward on the first Monday in December, our meeting needs to be changed to that first Monday.
So you're requesting the first Monday in December. We'll hold our commissioner meeting on the first Monday in December of 2025 and going forward?
Yes,
okay.
Sir.
All right. First Monday December. Any other changes that need to be included in the board calendar? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the board calendar as presented, with the change of the first Monday in December being our, which would be December 1st, 2025.
So move.
Second.
Have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood, second by Commissioner Ellerby. Any other discussion on the board calendar? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion passes. All right, next we're going to move to our manager's report. Mr. Manager, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item is an alert, I guess you might say, since it's not really something that we can consider that much, since we're a member of the Sand Hills Regional Library System. They have a practice every year of closing all the regional library units down for 1 day to allow for staff training. This year, normally it's in May. This year they want it to be on January 31st. So I don't think there's any action needed. This is just a notification to you all, and of course it will be posted and accordingly, and so people will know that the library is closed on January 31, 2025.
Okay.
The second item is Mr. William Lennon and his sister Sharon Lennon have sent me a letter requesting that they be allowed to donate 2 small parcels in the Morgan Fire District to the county, and they are 2 small parcels. I think the tax record shows that they're worth like about $1,300 on our tax books. I'm not sure how much we can do anything with it. Mr. Forbes and I, if he agrees, we can do some more research on it if you're interested in receiving it, of course, in order for any gift to be made, there has to be a giver and a receiver. So it's not something that you have to take. If you do take it, I would suggest that we probably try to sell it.
Yes.
Because if we're not selling it, we're not making any tax dollars.
And that's my question. I'm just going. I don't know that. I hate to turn down a gift, but I don't know that we have a need for these two properties. And if we take them, we no longer have them on the tax record. If we take them and try to sell them, it's going to cost this county money to try to sell them.
Right.
So if we don't have a need, I think it's in their best interest to sell the property themselves.
Right, and I think they just reached out to us because, as the gentleman said in the letter, he lives up in the mountains, his sister lives 300 and some miles away, and there's no heirs that want the property. And one of the pieces I know is in a North Carolina Natural Heritage Program, so not much you can do with that.
It's going to restrict the use of it, so
right.
Unless there's a need that I'm not aware of, I don't know that it's in the best interest to receive it, but I am open to hearing the flip side of that.
Would you mind if we called these people and
Sure.
offered some other solutions?
Yes, I'm not saying we need to totally reject it. I just I would like to hear a case as to why we would need these properties before we take them.
Right.
So if we need to table that, or if you want to bring it back for further discussion.
If you just continue to the next meeting, we'll contact them between now and then and give them some other alternatives.
Okay.
And I know I've talked to both Mr. Newton, who just left, as well as our planning director, Nick Addison. And if it was large enough to put some type of EMS or other public facility on, then that's one thing. But I don't think it fits that bill.
I don't think either property fits that.
No, sir.
Not in my research, anyway.
No, not mine either.
Okay, so do we need Madam Clerk, do we need a formal vote to table that? Okay, so.
Okay. Item C that I had originally is gone. The other item is Apostle Chambers contacts me all the time because it's been before this board a few times, but no one has. There's not really been a definitive directive, if you will. He would like for us, and I think Mr. Forbes has done some work on it with the school district. The school owns that property. They don't really want to sell it or do anything with the private sector, which is what Mr. Chambers is. However, they would be willing to transfer it to the county, and then the county could offer it all. And of course, Apostle Chambers knows that we just couldn't give him the property, that we'd have to sell it. And what we could do is either have an auction or a sealed bid type process. And I think he has grant money from somewhere that he could actually use for the acquisition of the property.
Okay, Mr. Forbes?
I spoke with a couple of representatives of the school board unofficially. I was led to believe that if this board wants it, they would transfer it to this board. They would have to have a meeting. It'd probably be in January. They would transfer the property to the board if this board wants it. Because I didn't know how y'all would feel about it. And then we could either keep it or we could sell it. We would have to sell it up for public auction if we did not keep it or use it. But I did not want to speak for the board to say that we wanted it without talking with the board, and it would probably take a motion and for y'all to vote on getting it.
So he's prepared to purchase it. The Chambers, possibly.
Yes, Apostle Chambers is prepared to make us an offer on it. How much?
But he's prepared to submit a bid, yes.
But I mean,
yes.
that's what I mean.
Yes.
Well, I've heard of this scenario, so that's why I think my 2 cents. I think it might be of interest to the county to possibly maybe look into actually taking it, because I believe it'll sell. I'll put it up.
And that's
It's off the tax books too.
Right.
Okay.
So you know.
And that's my question is to your response, Mr. Ellerby, the same thing. There's going to be a cost associated with us auctioning this property off. And do we think this property is going to bring more than what it's going to cost us? We don't want to take on an expense from the school board if it's not going to make money.
True statement. If it put us in a deficit.
That's right. And I've not researched that. I mean, I know where the property's at, but
have no idea what it would cost to sell the property. I have no idea what it would cost to bring it. I will say this, time is on the county side the sooner it gets on the tax book. And that's an opinion, not a, so,
But
so even if you don't immediately make it over the course of years, because it's not making you any money right now.
But if Mr. Chambers has a nonprofit, is it going to go back on the tax record then? And I'm assuming that Mr. Chambers would get it purchased.
I don't know what he wants to buy it for.
Okay, I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
Can we table this, and Mr. Sossaman, we challenge you to find out how much it's gonna cost us, the cost of it to sell it?
Sure, because and Mr. Forbes, I'll ask you for your opinion, because I don't think we have to actually auction it. You could probably take sealed bids, which I think probably we could put together those requests and advertisements in-house, which would save us some money, but we can look and see what it would cost to do either one of those, if you like.
Yes, I would like to see what his estimated cost is to sell it, however means we do that.
Because I don't want to take it and engage the law firm that we use for foreclosures, because it would probably cost us at least $6,000.
We're not doing that.
That's my.
And I don't want to do that if we're only going to get $5,000 for the property.
Right. Or even less.
Or that's what I'm saying. I have no idea what its value is. So obviously, I think Mr. Chambers probably has a value more than it's more valuable to him than a lot of other people. So yes, if you'll bring that back to us, an estimated cost on the cost of selling it.
We'll get a motion and a second, a vote on continuing into the.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion to table that item until manager presents more information on it.
A second.
Motion. We have a motion by Commissioner Mims, second by Commissioner Gatewood and Commissioner Woodburn. Any other discussion on the land acquisition?
I think, I've had several discussions with Officer Chambers, and I think he clearly understands that it'll be a competitive process. In other words, that for him to even stand a chance of getting it, if somebody has a real interest in it, he may not get it.
Sure.
But and the other part of it too is, and I don't know if we could actually find out the value, but my thinking is, if I'm correct, where part of that land's located, nobody's probably going to want it anyway.
Right.
But there is a parcel of it that might be attractive to other people.
I got you. And that's why, from what little research I've done, I think Mr. Chambers has another property adjoining it, correct?
Yes.
I think so. That's why I think it's more valuable to him than
it is.
the average citizen. So
It's the property of the old JR Facing School. So back there where I think the ball field used to be years ago.
Yeah, the one and the one I think that probably nobody would want. There's property, where the old gym sits. You go back down under that hill back there. There was a field, athletic field back there as well. But there's nothing around there now. But I think the property that's to the left side of what he currently has, somebody might have some interest in that.
okay.
And I guess the other part of it too is not just the money from it, but when you consider somewhat economic impact to a certain extent in an area like Anson County.
Well, sure.
The possibility of having something positive, because that's right there, right off the main highway. So I think that's something we should consider too.
Yeah, if it's going to spur any economic development in this county,
Yes,
that's
sir.
what we need.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, any other discussion on that? Right, the motion on the floor is to table it until the manager presents us some information on the cost of selling it. So, have a motion, we have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right.
Mr. Chairman, say again.
I'll get you some information.
Okay. My last item I say was the largest, and I'm not making that up. This is one of the bid documents for the Anson County Water Treatment Plant Filter Rehabilitation Project in all its radiant splendor. Now, the easy part is that the board did on previous meeting authorize us to go ahead and notify Dellinger. We had 3 bids, which was great. It means we can move forward without having to re-advertise. And they bid $6,540,500 to do this filter rehab project. And I brought this because I wanted to make sure that everybody understands we actually do have a contract. I'm not making it up. I've got bid documents. I've got performance bond that's in place. I've got payment bonds that's in place. Also, they have their certificate of liability insurance, which would be for the value of the contract. So yeah, all of that looks good. And I've asked Miss Cannon if she'll set us a meeting up for, I believe it's 10 o'clock this coming Friday, so that you and Miss Cannon, our finance director, and Mr. Forbes and I can be there, because there's going to be a lot of signing on all these pages. But what I need you all to do tonight is to actually approve us moving forward with the chairman signing the contract.
I'll sign as long as I don't have to read all how many ever pages are in that contract right there.
For insomnia.
That's why I brought it.
I task you and our attorney in reading that whole contract.
We have spent several days looking at this contract. I am not kidding.
Yes. So,
Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry.
based on the county manager's recommendation, I make a motion that we approve the contract.
Second.
all right. So we have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood to approve the contract to Dellinger for the water rehab project. Have a second by Commissioner Ellerby. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Great, thank you.
All right.
That's all
Thank
I
you,
had,
sir.
unless anybody's got any questions.
All right. Any questions for the manager at this time? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to the chairman's report. I just have two quick things. I just wanted to remind all the citizens in our audience tonight that Anson County strategic planning process is still ongoing. Please visit the Anson County website and click on the link to share your valuable opinions in the future of Anson County. Please share this information with your community, employees, churches, organizations, businesses to promote the maximum level of citizen engagement in this endeavor. The second thing, I just want to remind everyone that the Anson County offices will be closed on December 24th, 25th, and 26th for the upcoming Christmas holiday, and then again on January 1st for the New Year holiday. I want to wish all of our county employees a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I look forward to a 2025, which hopefully brings prosperity to Anson County. So that's all I have in my chairman's report. So now we'll open it up for commissioner concerns or comments.
Are we going to get that information from last meeting? I don't know. I guess would that be more appropriate for a closed session?
You talking about the items we discussed in closed session?
Yes, that was supposed to be presented and understood. Very important piece of that. So I guess.
Yeah,
I'd like to make. I don't know if I have to. I know I have to make a motion to go into closed session, but I'm saying, is that something you?
Yes.
I imagine that we need to discuss in closed session.
I thought that was emailed, but maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah, but the explanation of it was in question until we came back together the next time. It's a very important piece that I suggest we have a discussion on. That's my recommendation, because
We can discuss it in closed session.
Yeah,
It was attorney-client privilege on some attorney issues, so yeah, we can discuss it in closed session.
Which it brought up an issue with me.
Yes.
That I need clarity on, that I asked for.
I understand. I thought it was emailed, so I apologize if it was not, but we'll discuss it.
Right.
So we do have another closed session item in reference to some personnel issues in just a minute. So, is there any other commissioner concerns now for open session?
Yes.
Yes.
Since coming on to the board, I know I have my training. Me and Mr. Commissioner Ellerby are going to training in January. Two of the key things that I had for this board coming forward was looking at our board meeting procedures. I asked for them when I first came on here. They haven't been updated since 1997, and there's some information and some updates that's happened since then. I would like for us to put it on our agenda at some point at a meeting upcoming to update and revise those board meeting procedures. Just not redoing the whole thing, just the key points that have changed since then, since 1997, and just to update those and bring them up to current speed. The second thing, researching everything, and Attorney Forrest, please correct me if I'm wrong on the general statute. North Carolina General Statute 168-86 says that we need a code of ethics. I know we have a code of conduct for our up under our personnel ordinance that is set for employees, public officials, and commissioners and all of that. But Attorney Forrest, if you can review that, I don't think that falls up under the code of ethics that is set, that needs to be set by each county. Is that correct?
I'll be glad to research that, to double check that. I thought they were the same thing, but they may not be. Okay. I'll be glad to check.
160A-86 It has a list of things that have to be included within our code of ethics, and I would just like that to be reviewed. And I would honestly like us to have, as a board, a set code of ethics specifically for the board itself, outside of employees and others. Just a set code of ethics for our board.
Okay, so if it's okay with you, Attorney Forbes, if you'll do some research on that and let us know how we need to move forward if we don't have that in place.
And that code of conduct may cover it.
That's why I say if we don't have one, I just do some research and report back to us.
And that's no.
We'll have it by the next meeting if that's, and I'll do my best to get some emails out to you before then.
Okay. That concludes yours?
That's the only two things I want to bring up.
Okay. All right. Any other commissioner concerns? All right. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to enter into closed session.
Make a motion we enter into closed session.
I have a motion by Commissioner Ellaby, second by Commissioner Little Reed. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
We might have to do that again.
I make a motion that we come out of closed session.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Gatewood, second by Commissioner Mims to exit the closed session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, we're back in open session now.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a motion.
Yes, sir.
I move that the incoming register of deeds be paid the same salary as the previous register of deeds, and that amount is $67,101.58 per year.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the floor by Mr. Gatewood to raise the register of deeds salary to $67,101.58. $101.58. We have a second by Commissioner Ellerby. Are there any other discussion on that? Yes, sir. When would you like that effect?
At the next pay period.
Starting the next pay period.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Is there any other business we need to conduct tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I make a motion we adjourn.
We have a motion by Commissioner Ellerby, second by Commissioner Little Reed to adjourn.